And welcome back to another episode of Nerd Central Podcast. I think I'm just gonna call it NCP from now on. Trying to keep it nice and short. Um, but with today's episode, it's gonna be a little bit different. I don't have Mike or Matt joining me today. It's gonna be a solo cast. And this is actually in response to a question that we got on our Facebook page, which you can go to at facebook.com/, Nerd Central Cosplay. And it was from another podcast that I actually listened to called Podocalypse, and you can find them on Facebook as well. They also do have a website, and I will be linking that in the description of this video, so you can go check them out. They have really good stuff, um, and they're hilarious, and it's just good stuff. So, but the question that I was asked was for someone who hasn't played video games since the PS2, how would I recommend somebody to go back into gaming? And that's actually a really good question. Of course, I'm paraphrasing, but the best thing to do, I think, would be to look at what made you originally like gaming. Was it puzzles? Was it strategy games? First-person shooters? Now, the PS2 didn't really have first-person shooters back in the day. There were a couple, like Killzone was the first big one, I believe, for the PS2. Um, Now, he didn't say anything about Xbox or anything like that, but um, that kind of goes beyond the point. But what kind of games do you like to play, or what games would you think you like to play? From that, for an example, I like first-person shooters, action adventure games, and platformers. So Halo, Halo, the new Shadows of Mordor game's coming out that looks phenomenal. It looks really, really good, and Nerd Central will most likely do a first impressions and then a review on it, just like how we did with Destiny. I enjoy Destiny as well. Um, some of the third party or like d- movie video games when they used to do that. I do enjoy some of those. I haven't played any of the newer ones, but back on the 360 and PS2 slash Xbox Lord of the Ring games, those are really cool. So I and again, it's all about finding what you think you would like to play. Now, with today, you have I think a awesome way of playing those games. Back at the PS2 era, you only had either a computer or a console. The PS2, PS1, Dreamcast that was around early on in the PS2 life cycle, things like that. Now today you have iPads, tablets, you have your computers, you have your consoles, you have more consoles, phones, your smartphones, and that's going to dictate what kind of games you're going to play. Usually on the tablet and handheld devices, you're going to usually get more strategy slash turn-based games, not necessarily actiony or shooters. There are a couple out there that are pretty decent, but you're going to see those style of gameplay. Now with consoles and PC games, uh, you'll get I think the widest variety and you're going to see the most. I want to say, you're probably going to see the most hardcore aspects of gaming either on the console or on the PC. So So step one is what kind of games you want to play, or what made you like games, and see if you can find those around. Step two is more or less pick a gaming device. You don't have to go super uber expensive with building a master race PC game or gaming PC. You can either use the one that you have at home if you have one. Most likely it'll play your older style games, not necessarily your Battlefield 4s or your Call of Duties, but it'll play those turn-based games well, play those strategy-based games well, even some third-person like indie games, which there are a lot of, and they come in different varieties and stuff like that, and they're really cool as well. And that's another topic you should if you're hesitant about checking out games, is look at the indie games like on Steam or something like that. and see, and just search around and see what would maybe catch your eye, and maybe watch a trailer or two. Now, the next thing that I would then recommend is if you're dead set on getting, for example, the new Xbox. If you're dead set about getting a console and you choose the Xbox, take a little, take about 15-20 minutes, maybe if you have a lunch hour at your office job or something like that, just go ahead and like YouTube, Xbox One video games, or Google them, and see what kind of videos you see. We live in such a interesting age now that you can really look at a product, especially video games, and see if you like it or not. Especially if a game's been out for a little while, you can watch other people played it. So that usually that's their Let's Plays, which is a very big and growing community that's getting a lot of traction with the video game industry. And you can just look at what kind of games you would want to maybe play. Again, first-person shooters, platformers, action adventures, mystery games. There's some mystery games too. From there, you would then make your purchase. You would either buy the system, buy the game, and then just play. There's really not so much to it. It's just that you kind of have to go with something that you would think you would like, and just go from there. For example, I'm not a really big horror person, but what makes I tried out this one game called Outlast, and I saw a couple of gameplay videos last summer on the PS4. I'm like, oh my god, this is really cool. I like the aspect of looking through a camera in order to view the world, the gaming world, and then that's how you'll get your dark vision and stuff like that. You'll see in the dark, but they had spooky aspects to it, very similar to the playable teaser with Silent Hill. Haven't done it, not going to. Not going to try that. I am looking forward to Alien Isolation, which looks phenomenal. I'm a very big Alien and Predator fan, and I hope that they do this justice, unlike Colonial Marines, which Gearbox, I think, promised us something, and they were trying to just do maybe a quick little payout, which I didn't like. Stupid, spent $100 collector's edition. I got a cool little statue with it, but not worth it in my opinion. So from there on, I mean, now one thing though is I probably should recommend or point out to whoever is thinking about getting back into games is don't be upset about the online community. Now, what I mean by that is a lot of games now have been focusing on multiplayer aspects, competitive multiplayer, or playing with friends. For example, Destiny. While you do have a single player experience, you can that single player experience is enhanced with playing with other friends. So I was, I guess, fortunate enough that I had a buddy who was also playing the game with me, and we actually played the game 2 to 3 people, and I actually enjoyed it for what it was. Now, for someone who's maybe a little older and looking into getting games, by all means, if you want to set up, an Xbox Live account or a PSN account, go for it. I know a lot of the PC games you don't necessarily need a account. You just need an internet, connection and stuff like that, and you can play online just right through there. But but go ahead and give it a try. Now, usually with the competitive multiplayer, it's like the Halos, Battlefield, Call of Duty. Those are your most popular versions, and those can be fairly frustrating for people who don't necessarily have the quick reflexes or aren't as good with either a controller or a mouse and keyboard. However, that experience can be enhanced if maybe you know people who play a game that you're looking into getting, or if maybe there's also crud. I just forgot the game I was gonna talk about. Oh, that's right, Dragon Age. For example, Dragon Age, the new one coming out, Inquisition. They're gonna have a multiplayer aspect where you and a couple of buddies can go through these randomized dungeons, and it's not necessarily a first-person shooter, but you're gonna have to play with. It's like you're playing the story mode with a bunch of friends, And that's really cool. A lot of games now are doing that to where you can actually have almost like a co-op multiplayer through or a co-op single player, but with multiplayer aspects, so you can play with a friend or something like that, or get into a lobby and find new people and stuff like that and play with them. Now, one thing I should also point out too is that depending on the style of game and depending on how new the game is, you're of course going to get the people who are hardcore, and by hardcore I mean they play this game. They eat, sleep, and um, you know just all about this game, like Battlefield 4, Call of Duty, Halo, and that's fine. But usually, what you hear about, especially on the online community, is about these people who, um, I guess, are bad talkers, or I think the perfect example is with League of Legends with toxic players. Basically, they just poo-poo everybody, and instead of playing with good sportsmanship, and they just basically just bash whoever they're playing with, or if their teammate screws up, they'll just curse them out and make them trying to make them feel better by bringing this other person down. And that's one thing that I think that needs to be addressed, as more or less a social thing, with these online games becoming a more of a standard, or playing multiplayer games becoming more of a standard thing amongst games now. Um, but that's pretty much it with getting back into video games and stuff like that. um, and I can recommend a plethora of games for the 360, or even the Xbox One or PS4. And the PS4 and Xbox One, their libraries are growing. And like I said earlier in the podcast, Shadows of Mordor looks phenomenal. It has aspects of like Batman and Assassin's Creed rolled into the Tolkien universe. And I don't know about our listeners, but um, I'm somewhat of a decent Lord of the Rings fan. I love the movies. I read the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I was reading The Hobbit before The Hobbit came out, just kind of refresh myself about it. But you actually, this really isn't much of a spoiler. You learn this early on, but your Wraith is one of the elf smiths who make the original Rings of Power, the three for the Elvish. And I'm like, what? No way! That's just really cool how you can take something like Lord of the Rings, which has been around for decades. My dad read them when he was a young man, and that was back in the 70s, uh, early 70s. But yeah, I mean, games are such an awesome piece of medium, and a lot of the times, I would view games as art. They're very artsy games, and that's maybe another genre that you can probably look into as well. Is a lot of these indie games, for like the PC, and now for the Xbox and PS4, you will find a lot of these artsy games. And by artsy, very very pretty to look at. Their gameplay is maybe revolutionary or interesting. For example, Journey is a game where you just basically walk around and look at the background, or you look at stuff. Not my cup of tea, but I've seen some screenshots, and it looks really really good. And there's more games coming out that will feed that need for people and stuff like that. So that's pretty much it. Again, oh, and another thing too is uh, with the new consoles out right now, the Xbox One and the PS4, you can actually pick up a PS3 or a 360 for a fairly low price, and their game library is pretty much all fleshed out. I can recommend BioShock, the first three Assassin's Creed games, or the first, I guess you could say the first three. Um, what else? The Star Wars Force Unleashed games, those I think were really good. Um, Call of Duty, at least Modern Warfare 1, 2, and then the first Black Ops, that was actually pretty interesting. Gears of War is another one. The Halo series, and now with the Xbox One, they're re-releasing the Master Chief Collection, which is Halo 1, 2, 3, and I believe 4, all remade for the Xbox One, which is gonna look awesome. I've seen some screenshots of Halo 2. It looks really really good. So again, thank you again, Fat Guy, who was the one who offered, or who was the one who asked me this question. And he also asked, which will come in a later video once I can get Mike and Matt. We'll introduce ourselves a little bit more and talk about, what is Nerd Central to us, and hopefully what the future holds for us as well. And this is just more or less something that I've been wanting to do. But I don't want to get too much into it because that can get kind of boring for people to listen to. So we'll just do a separate video for that. But look out for that. And if you guys haven't noticed already, all of a small base, but I will be releasing video content Wednesdays, Fridays, and then hopefully Sundays. This week was a little weird with work. So most likely this will be our Wednesday video. I might do it a little early, maybe tomorrow or Tuesday, depending on work. And then hopefully I can stick to that regular schedule, at least 3 videos a week. If not, it might go down to 2, but they might be bigger videos. They might incorporate, Mike and Matt, or maybe somebody else as well. So I'd like to thank you again, and this has been just a really short one here. I will usually keep these maybe these question videos not so long, just to answer the question and flush out the ideas and stuff like that. So again, I'm rambling. Thanks again for listening, and thanks again, Fat Guy, for the question. Hopefully I answered half of it correctly, or half of it rightly. So stay tuned for our next video, and I believe our next video will be the Shadows of Mordor First Impressions video. Either me and Matt or me and Mike will be talking about that. So thanks again, and look forward to seeing us soon. Peace.